Bridging. While usually considered more of a competitive skill, being able to cross a span of blocks in the shortest amount of time is certainly a good talent to have whenever you're playing general Minecraft. It's also a great way to flex your skill on other players. But what is the best way to bridge in Minecraft? And when I say best, I usually mean fastest. But when I say bridge, I don't necessarily mean bridge. Today, I want to find out the most effective way to cross a span of blocks. Period. Because who knows, maybe there are even faster and more efficient ways than traditional bridging. In this video, we're putting a bunch of different methods to the test, everything from ladder bridging, to unicorn bridging, to scaffolding without hacks. Yeah. And if you do enjoy, then please do consider subscribing. However, with all that said, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. First off the bat is just regular shift bridging. On the difficulty scale, shift bridging is easy, everyone should be able to do it. Just hold shift, go to the edge of the block, and hold right click. Sort of. Because believe it or not, going sideways is actually faster than going straight backwards. Yeah, the angle you bridge at can actually increase your speed. I won't go into why that is until we get to god bridging and moonwalking, but you'll just have to trust me. So if you position yourself sideways at around the right angle, and don't worry, there is room for error, you can go at around 1.83 blocks per second. I've installed a little counter mod in the bottom left, which will be linked in the description, that shows me how fast I'm going. However, the total speed isn't exactly 1.83 blocks per second. For each test, I've set a 32 block gap and timed every method as well as looked at the counter. The average time for a 32 block shift bridge out of 3 trials was 19.08 seconds, or a rough speed of 1.677 blocks per second. This number is a bit lower than 1.83, and that's because of my CPS, or clicks per second. If you just hold down right click, it doesn't do it as fast as humanly possible. There are times when you get caught at the edge of a block and lose a few milliseconds of time. So while the fastest possible speed should be about 1.83 blocks per second, this one is also considerably more likely. But what if you bridged with ice? Because you slip and slide on ice, do you actually go faster when you bridge? This may seem like an obvious no, however the difference is there, if not very small. With ice bridging, crossing the 32 block gap took me 21.09 seconds. Yeah, it was actually slower than regular bridging. That's because to fully take advantage of ice, you need a running start, or some time to build up speed. The initial drag of walking on ice actually slows you down when you move so slowly, leading to one of the slowest possible bridging methods at 1.52 blocks per second. Quite pitiful, actually. Don't worry though, this isn't the end for basic shift bridging. Because what if we use a modifier? Using speed or speed 2, we can increase how fast we move across each block, allowing us to bridge faster, and the difference is certainly noticeable. With speed 1, I was able to cross the 32 blocks in just about 15.87 seconds, or 2.01 blocks per second, with the counter in the bottom left slightly making fun of me by displaying the max possible speed of 2.20 blocks per second. With speed 2, that jumps to 2.28 blocks per second, and a theoretical perfection limit of 2.56. Not bad at all. However, that's just basic bridging. Let's move on to ninja bridging. Ninja bridging, also commonly referred to as speed bridging, isn't too hard to do either, and just like regular bridging, it's faster done facing sideways as opposed to facing backwards. To ninja bridge, just place a block, walk to the edge, shift, place a block, walk to the edge, and repeat. When I ninja bridge, I usually hold down a right click button as opposed to spam it. If I did spam it, in theory I could go faster, but not only is my method easier, it's barely slower. While ninja bridging, my average time was 13.85 seconds, or 2.31 blocks per second. That's significantly higher than basic shift bridging, but actually lower than the perfection version of speed 2. I guess you could say speed bridging is faster than speed bridging. Although again, I'm not doing either method perfectly. But what if you did? Schneller bridging is the perfected form of ninja bridging. The flaw of regular ninja bridging is the time it takes you to shift on each block. If you were to minimize that time and only shift at the very edge, in theory you could go much faster. I can't schneller bridge, so I'll have to turn to someone who can. Yusei. Yusei is a bridging YouTuber with around 14.7k subs, and he made a similar comparison that showcased tons of other bridging methods. For example, Schneller. In his test, he found that it took him 3.36 seconds to cross a span of 14 blocks, which I can't really clarify, so I'll have to take his word for it. If that's true, Schneller bridging would have a time of around 4.17 blocks per second, or almost twice as fast as my ninja bridging. That's insane. But what if you don't shift at all? Breezily bridging is a technique that has the player go straight backwards and alternate pressing A and D while holding down S, so you have more time to place blocks and recharge. Again, I can't breezily bridge, but I don't have to. Because the motion is consistent, I can just have a pre-made bridge and do the breezily motion along it. However, this isn't a perfect measurement because I'm not actually bridging. With my tests, my speed was around 3.21 blocks per second, which we can compare to Yusei, who got 3.46 blocks per second. We can go with his time for now since he actually bridged it, but they are pretty similar. Up next is moonwalking. Moonwalking involves pressing S at an angle that would take you off the bridge and then spamming the D key. This method is considerably faster since you are going sideways and not backwards. And yes, you do have to click more, although like all these methods, if you can time it, you don't have to click very fast. From my experience, I can get exactly 4 blocks per second on average on a pre-made bridge. Yusei, on the other hand, records a speed of 4.375 blocks per second. These speeds are considerably different, but by not too big a margin, and we can again go with Yusei's speed since he's actually bridging. Now, before I get to God bridging, which I'm sure everyone is curious about, let's quickly discuss everything in between. Unicorn bridging is a kind of irrelevant bridging method that involves jumping backwards, and in this video, the Teddynator speed oscillates between 1.7 and 4 blocks per second, averaging at around 2.85 blocks per second. Eagle bridging is just God bridging but shifting every 3 blocks, which Yusei records to be around 4.53 blocks per second. Witchly bridging involves running sideways and strafing up and down, like a rotated breezily bridge. And while I can't do this one either, watching other people do it and trying to mimic the motion, I get around 4.12 blocks per second. Now, do keep in mind, I am no bridging expert and this is nowhere near every single method, however, that's the main ones out of the way. Onto the God bridge. God bridging involves running sideways and placing blocks. But that's not all. For this one, there is a precise angle you have to do it at. 45 degrees. Why 45 degrees? Well, I'm glad you asked. What makes God bridging so efficient is that you're just going sideways. However, you can't just look straight and hold D because you'll actually fall right off. And this method is actually slightly faster than just going in a straight direction. In Minecraft, since your speed backwards and your speed sideways are two different vectors, when you click both of them at the same time, they add. You can think about it like this. Let's take our original character facing 0 degrees and draw the backwards velocity from S and the sideways velocity from holding D. Now, let's rotate the player 45 degrees. The sideways is now going this direction and the backwards that direction. Each vector can be split into two components, its X component and its Z component. Since you can move the same speed backwards and sideways, the components of each are equal. So you have two equal X components moving in opposite directions, and two Z components moving in the same direction. The X ones cancel out, so you don't move along that axis, and the Z ones add, so your speed along the Z direction is actually faster than it would normally be. Going 45 degrees, you position yourself in a way that all that extra speed is going in a regular direction, instead of off the block. It's pretty cool. Math out of the way though, in my God bridging trials, I got around 4.4 blocks per second, the fastest method so far. In his trial, Yusei got 4.6 blocks per second, which is again nuts and will stick with his measurement. So yeah, God bridging is very fast, but can we go even faster? Yes. Because God bridging just involves going sideways with a little boost, what if we go straight forwards? Sprinting is faster than strafing, so is there a bridging method that allows you to go faster and just sprint forward? Scaffolding. Scaffolding is a type of hack that allows the player to automatically place blocks beneath them so they can't really fall. Well, technically, scaffolding is the peak of sprinting bridging. You have to be hacking, and hacking is dumb, so it doesn't count. don't hack. However, don't be discouraged, as there are methods even faster than scaffolding, and 2 bridging techniques that actually mimic the movement. Scaffolding without hacks. When you're scaffolding, what are you really doing? You're running forward, your head snaps to place a block below you, it snaps back into position, you run forward, you place a block, etc, etc. So what if there was a bridging method just like that? Derp bridging is probably one of, if not the hardest bridging methods. It's nuts. It involves sprinting forwards, snapping your head to place a block, turning back forward, sprinting, snapping your head, placing a block, etc. It's very difficult to do consistently without external aid, but it's also very, very fast, at around 4.95 blocks per second. It's the fastest method on our list so far, even faster than God bridging, which makes sense when you think about it. But what about the other way to scaffold without hacks? A much easier way to scaffold legitimately is to use scaffolding. Added in 1.14, scaffolding is an actual block now that can be placed in a very useful fashion to bridging. If you right-click the center of a scaffolding block, it will place blocks in front of it, up to 6 extra scaffolding blocks. So if you place 7, run to the edge, place a block, and then scaffolding, and then continue, you can sprint forward much easier than dirt bridging. Of my 3 trials, I averaged 3.09 blocks per second. What happened there? That's pretty awful. Well, the time it takes me to actually place the blocks and then the scaffolding makes the total much slower. So, while this method is very safe and faster than speed bridging, it isn't close at all to the peak. But what if instead of sprinting forward, we sprint jumped forward? Sprint jumping is even faster than sprinting, so what if we use that instead? Well, consider the telebridge. Telebridging is a method of bridging that has you sprint over the edge of your bridge, turn 180 degrees back, land a 2-block or more extension, and continue. The speed of your bridge is determined by how fast you can repeat this and how far you can land a consistent extension. Like dirt bridging, telebridging is very difficult and requires you to click pretty fast. However, does it pay off? As you may have guessed, I can't telebridge, but luckily Yusei can. By telebridging, Yusei was able to travel 44 blocks in 8.4 seconds, or 5.24 blocks per second, destroying every previous record, even the God bridge and even the dirt bridge. This is extremely impressive, but what if instead of sprint jumping, you sprint jumped with a head hitter? Fabled as the best possible bridging technique ever, the Andromeda method is legendary. It's perhaps the hardest bridging method in the entire world and exploits the mechanic that makes you go faster if you sprint jump and then get your head hit. Here's how to do it. First, sprint and place a block below you like a dirt bridge. Then, snap your head to place a block above you. Sprint jump head hit to the edge of your bridge, and repeat. It looks crazy to watch and must feel crazy to perform. Caterpillow, another Minecraft YouTuber, created a mod that allows you to Andromeda bridge. Don't take it on servers. Testing it out in a single player world, and my record speed was 6.72 blocks per second. Wow. Although realistically, no one can bridge like this for a consistent period of time, this is perhaps the fastest bridging method ever. But how else can we bridge? Traditional bridging is by no means the only way to cross a span of blocks, so what else can we do that could be faster than Andromeda? Well, we can try to ladder bridge. Ladder bridging is kind of like ninja bridging, but every other block is a ladder. This may seem pretty stupid at first until you realize that you can place a ladder and a block at pretty much the same time, and then run across both almost seamlessly. Thus, you spend less time shifting and more time running. My 3 ladder bridges aren't perfect, but they're good enough, and actually it's a really fun bridge to perform if you get the hang of it. My average speed was 1.908 blocks per second. Okay, what the heck went wrong here? I think if you perfected it, ladder bridging could be faster. However, the time it takes for me to shift and place both undermines any advantage it had over traditional ninja bridging. It's still though a really fun bridging method to try, and I recommend trying it out. Finally, there are two more methods that can be considered to cross a span of blocks. First, a flying machine. You can set up a very simple flying machine as such that can carry you to the side of any hole or gap. But again, it's painfully slow. With a speed of 2.02 blocks per second, while it definitely isn't the slowest and is super duper reliable, it isn't close to the fastest either. So redstone won't work. Or will it? How about a TNT cannon? TNT cannons have been around forever, but are they any use to cross blocks? Including the time to set up a very basic contraption, I was able to travel 25.68 blocks in 8 seconds, or 3.21 blocks per second. That's alright, but I'm not sure how worth it is, especially considering the islands are so close together in Skywars anyway. Still, that decision's up to you. And finally, maybe you expected this, maybe you didn't, the fastest way to cross a span of blocks is undoubtedly to fly. With an elytra, and with flight duration 3 rockets, I can zoom past every possible bridging method and complete the 32 block gap in 1.4 seconds, including the jump, reaching an insane speed of 22.36 blocks per second, by a landslide the fastest method so far. Or you could just ender pearl. So, when all is said and done, what should you take away from this video? A few things. 1. While methods like Andromeda and tele-bridging are the fastest, they are nowhere near easy to do, and perhaps even impossible for a human in the case of Andromeda. 2. If I would recommend a bridging method, I'd opt to pick Ninja or Schneller. For ninja bridging, you don't even have to click fast, you can just hold down right click, and learn the method really easily. Schneller bridging may be a bit harder to learn, but it's also faster, and honestly, if you put in a bit of time, it shouldn't take too long to grasp, and it's certainly worth it. And 3, if you have an elytra, just use the elytra. But with all that said, that is the best way to bridge in Minecraft. Thank you so much for watching, please consider subscribing, and as always, peace out, have a good one.